Let's talk about something very serious, which is President Trump's life. There have been two well documented attempts on his life this year while he was running for president. And now what? Now what? Now that he's president elect, what does that look like? Susan Crabtree is a reporter, Real Clear Politics, White House and national political correspondent, and she joins us now. Susan, great to have you with us.
Thanks so much for having me back. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we have a president-elect now. We were told ahead of the election that President Trump had protection that was comparable to what Joe Biden has. What, if anything, changes now?
Well, there's certain things that he gets automatically that now that he's president-elect, including the White House Communications Agency works for him now, too. And people don't really understand this little agency, but it is a combination of where it's located is in the old executive office building, but it's DoD staffed. So it's the military providing encrypted messaging for anything that Trump does. And you know that's incredibly important right now because we had that China incident hacking into the phones of both J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and several of his other politicians. There's up to 40 politicians that were victims of that hacking, including Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer and some others. But I'm told that it's actually more lopsided on the Republican side. And so they were having any discussions, even if their phones weren't having a phone call, could be heard. And J.D. Vance was talking, did discuss how, sometimes discussions with his wife could be picked up by the Chinese, as there was no privacy.
Wow.
So anyway, they do get the encrypted. That story has gone under the radar, by the way. That
Yes.
needs to be explored.
I wasn't aware of that detail. I mean, I try and follow as much as I can really closely, but I wasn't aware that their devices were engaged in active listening without them even being on them.
Yeah, I did have a key source brief me on this, and I did tweet about it. I didn't have time to do a full dive, but Josh Rogan did a really good story in the Washington Post about it, and it's just lawful access. It's actually what I was told was that the issue is the FISA surveillance system. So it's really not the telecom's fault. The Biden administration has been blaming the telecoms and saying, oh, they hacked into Verizon and other telecoms. But what I'm told, it was our backdoor that the U.S. government has to those systems, but they're supposed to be FISA court-ordered for foreign surveillance. But that's not what's happening. And the really deep concern – yeah, go ahead.
Just to make sure I understand this, the Chinese hacked into our government's surveillance system in order to surveil the incoming president and vice president of the United States?
Absolutely, they did. That's what I'm told. And if you look at Josh Rogan's story, he documents it, and it's called lawful access. That's the term. So they not only there's deep concern. They don't know the White House hasn't been forthcoming on this, and actually we don't know if the Chinese can see who we're surveilling. That the government did get court ordered surveillance FISA approval to do, but they don't know what our enemies that we're trying to watch and spies overseas or operating within the country, but they're foreigners. We don't know if they have access to that information or not. And I don't know if the U.S. government doesn't know, but they certainly haven't disclosed that to the American people. And that's the real deep concern. And you can see that Mark Warner, he's the head of the Democratic head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, has called it the worst hacking incident during his tenure as chairman on the Intelligence Committee. And Marco Rubio has been very tight-lipped about it, but he was also asked about it, and he also agreed with Mark Warner. But they're keeping the lid on this, but the Trump administration saying, before the campaign ended, they had said that the Biden administration is not being forthcoming on this. And it's an incredibly important story. And if they can't protect our national security, hopefully when Trump gets in there, but they haven't stopped this. They haven't been able to patch it. They keep trying to patch this, and the Chinese hackers are still doing it. They're still breaking through. So it's an unresolved problem. I hope to be able to report on it more next week. But yeah, it's something I'm trying to drill down on
Yes.
because it's a deep concern.
The,
But now,
Josh Rogan's reporting. I'm reading from it now. The Chinese hackers who the United States believes are linked to Beijing's Ministry of State Security have burrowed inside the private wiretapping and surveillance system that American telecom companies built for the exclusive use of U.S. federal law enforcement agencies. And the U.S. government believes they likely continue to have access to the system. Millions of mobile phone users on the networks of at least 3 major U.S. carriers could thus be ongoingly vulnerable to Chinese government surveillance. And this, of course, as you point out, comes at a really pivotal time. We've got an incoming administration, a lot of important conversations about policy, how that's going to be set up, personnel, who's going to get the jobs. These are some of the nation's most critical secrets, and here they are being exposed to Chinese espionage using U.S. government surveillance systems.
that's right. And that's why it's so important. That's why I'm emphasizing that now Trump and Vance will have the protection of the White House Communications Agency. So all of his texts, all of his phone calls, video conferencing will be protected from anywhere he is. So this agency, working with the Secret Service, has capability to, if he's on an airplane, wherever he is, he has this technology provided to him.
Yeah, but one of the other pieces, though, is like there's a lot of people around Trump who are not government officials. They're industry people, they're media people. And President Trump likes having robust conversations with people from all walks of life. He welcomes them to Mar-a-Lago. They have cell phones in their pockets. This creates a real chaotic situation for an incoming administration.
Absolutely. I do think that it is a deep concern. And I would definitely, when I was talking to the people briefing me about it, I had to use a certain type of technology to talk to them.
Sure.
So they are taking precautions. But I don't know if the Biden administration they are not being forthcoming about those. And I'm told it's not really the telecom's fault, that it was the Biden administration's, the U.S. government's, and it falls within the Justice Department's ability to protect this back door that they have access to. So that I want to drill down on, but it is of serious concern. And anybody in the country, I mean, who knows now, since I've posted about it on X.com, whether they could, in fact, they could be surveilling our phone calls too, my phone calls. And they did this with the Wall Street Journal reporter, the Chinese. The Wall Street Journal reporter's email was hacked. That's all we've known so far. We don't know if the reporter's phone was also accessed as well.
Wow. All right. Well, before everybody goes to bed tonight, scream an obscenity at China's Communist Party into your phone and see if they get the message. Hey, on protecting Trump,
yes.
One of the upsides I would think is now that he's not in campaign mode, he's not going to be quite on the move. It won't be in all these various unusual venues. Does that enhance the ability of the Secret Service to protect him?
Yes, and I'm told actually, that Ron Rowe, the acting director of the Secret Service, who has testified, and he's been under a microscope since these assassination attempts and Kimberly Cheadle's departure, he wasn't being quite honest when he kept saying he has the full package, that Donald Trump has the full package after the assassination attempts of any equivalent to what President Biden have or any president has. I'm told now he does in terms of not the Air Force One. They still don't have a military plane, even though they could have provided him one, according to several sources in the Secret Service community told me about different plane options that have the same jamming technologies that Air Force One does. But he does have more agents around him, and they're more experienced agents. So I'm told he has his regular Trump detail, and then and a campaign shift that they have that during the campaign they added. But they were only added, the additional campaign shift was only added for all outdoor sites, and these now they're full time. So he has more agents around him, and he has all the assets available to him that the president Biden would have. He has many more sweeps, and they also will be providing. I'm told there's some discrepancy in this. It used to be that president-elects don't have the airspace that's shut down around them. Vice presidents have a limited amount of airspace shut down around them. It's called a bubble in Secret Service terminology, I'm told. From what I understand, they did start providing, from your excellent question last time we talked, I looked into it, they did start providing air traffic was shut down around Trump. I don't know if it was that bubble that they provide for the vice president where, and they don't have I don't think they had the Harrier jet aircraft that presidents get to go investigate any airplane that would come into the restricted airspace. I don't think he had that, but it's a bubble that they shut down around Donald Trump, and they had been doing that for during the campaign. They had been taking that precaution, and as you know, it could have been in response to these Iranian threats of missile attacks.
Right. Yeah. So the threats from the air, it seems like there's a lot of potential threats from the air, whether it's a missile attack or it's an actual plane getting within the vicinity of the president, or it's drones. The drone technology today seems to be one of the big areas that everyone who's concerned about security, that's the word I keep hearing pop up, drones. Do you think, is he in a position where he can be protected from that?
They have their drone mitigation systems in place. Secret Service, the drone mitigation that was in failure, and the agent was on the phone with technology for hours a day. That's why they couldn't get it up until really late in the day. They couldn't get their mitigation system. They have a very excellent drone mitigation system. I'm hoping that it can respond to these fleets of drones that we have been reported. The Wall Street Journal reported that they suspect it's Chinese driven too. They had arrested a Chinese individual and involved in some of those drones that were appearing down in Richmond area, down in the Navy area that my husband used to work in Virginia, and they also had some of these at other Air Force bases across the country and over Langley as well. I don't know if you've read that Wall Street Journal article, but it is pretty frightening. I am told that that's the deepest concern among the Secret Service agents that are in the drone program. And now we know Ron Rowe created a division just for drones. Some people like that in the Secret Service, others don't. But he did do that, and they are training a lot more drone pilots right now. People to control the drones. They've been actively doing that since this has become an issue after the assassination attempt. So they are definitely upping their game when it comes to this. Whether they can manage these fleets of drones is an open question.
Yeah. You ever see those birds that they train to intercept drones? You ever see that? They like hawks and things. That's what we need. We need a fleet of bald eagles that are dedicated to protecting Donald Trump. That'd be great.
That would be so. That would be a great metaphor for this result of the election. But I love that imagery.
I love it. All right. Hey, Susan Crabtree, I love your reporting. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate your time as always.